All right, welcome. Today I have Bleeves on my program here. So Bleeves, is that your last name?
No, as a matter of fact, it's when I got into crypto, there was a crypto called Keanu,
Yeah,
and I thought it would be I thought this was going to be that one thing was going to take me. I'm going to put $10 in and become a billionaire,
of course.
like everybody who's just getting started. And I saw Keanu, and I thought, if it's named after Keanu Reeves, that's actually a pretty cool thing.
Hmm.
So it pumps up to like, big market cap, stuff like that. And then of course it dumps like everything does. Of course, when you're new, you don't know that. You don't see, how the trends work. So I see it go way up. And then it comes way back down. And one of the things they needed was marketing. So, they were like, somebody has to get on YouTube. So I was like, you know what? I'll do YouTube. Why not? So I started doing YouTube stuff about a crypto called Keanu, and the next thing you know, Keanu, falls apart like most projects. It kind of falls apart, flames out, you know. But in the FOMO buildup was around October of 2021 when we had that secondary pump.
Yeah.
And so, my original investment, which I think was $200, goes up to $2,000, and I cash out $2,000, and I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? It wasn't great for that period of time, wasn't what I wanted, but it's still a 10x gain off of $200. And then a couple hours later, they announced that all the stuff that they had been working on isn't going to happen. And this is when it starts to get like, ugh. So the crypto project dumps down. I mean, huge. And I'm like, you know what? Most of the time when you buy the dip, it reverses. So I bought, and I was lucky. I got to the bottom. Like I ended up buying on this dump all the way down to the bottom. And of course, people looked at the chart, saw it dumping, and they stepped in to buy, and it went up 2.5. So in that day, I went from 200 to 5,000 in one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good return. And then in the meantime, I had to come up with a creative name. And since it was Keanu, I named myself. I went through like a litany. Like I even looked at a dictionary or a thesaurus to find words that would rhyme with Reeves, and there was Steve's and leaves and stuff like that. Then I
Yeah.
thought leaves believes. Somebody said it in a meeting one day, and I was like, you know what, believes. So that's how the name came to be. Long
Oh,
story short.
yeah. Very interesting. Okay, yeah, I was always just thinking that that was like maybe your actual last name and stuff. So that was 2021. So that's when you got started doing videos on your YouTube channel.
Yep, sure
That's
is.
cool. That's cool. So I remember seeing you back, I don't know if it was maybe early 2022, because I was involved in the Shiba Inu project. I
Yep.
remember you on some of the interviews with, or whether you were talking about the dev team at the time and stuff. Were you early, like reporting on Saitama Inu back in the 2021, or were you later in like the 2022 era?
I think my first Saitama video was one of the problems with Keanu was I can't build an audience with one single project
Yeah,
because projects oscillate.
yeah.
So I decided I was going to pick a bunch of different cryptos. And then I went to each one of the cryptos, and one of them was Kishu, one of them was Saitama. And this is, probably July or August of 2021. So I'm not known as being one of those Saitama guys because I didn't just make pure Saitama videos.
Yeah.
I just did a news report every day on what was going on with like 5 or 6 different cryptos. And it just happened to be one of them: Sanshu, Kishu, Saitama, familiar names,
Hmm.
Keanu.
Yeah.
And each one of those had their own little ecosystem. So I want to say August of 2021, probably about that time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing you, I think when there was some things were getting a little bit heated with the original Saitama devs, that there was stuff that was going on, and there was and I remember some of those spaces and debates. And on one of those videos that you were talking about, like you had to go to work the next day. So at that time, it sounded like you had a full-time job doing something else, and the videos was just a part-time. Are you a full-time YouTuber now?
Yeah. The YouTube is what I do. And you know, I better job. It's better working for yourself than it is working for somebody else. I can tell you that.
That's cool. So it's been 3 years. So you made it through the bear market, still
Yeah.
doing videos about crypto.
Yep. Well,
That's pretty amazing.
I guess I should say I got fortunate because when Saitama fell, and after it, from November to I want to say mid-December. I don't remember exactly where the price was, but I want to say whatever it was between 30, it was between 8 and 9,000. In my mind, that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Every day it would dump down to 8,000. Every day it would pump to 9,000. So I started buying like 3 days into it. I started noticing it kind of early. So I took, and I want to say at that point I had maybe $5,000, right? And so I put $5,000. I put it all in at 8,000, and it pumped up to 9,000, and I had 5,500, and I cashed it back out because I knew it was going to come back down. And sure enough, it came back down. And the next day, 5,500 turned into 6,250. You know what I mean? And it just continued every single day. I was doing that. And by the time a month had gone by, I had made around 32, 33,000,
Wow.
just like that.
Yeah.
And then I mean that was kind of the start of the journey where I didn't need a job anymore. I mean I still worked for a long period of time, but I got to, I want to say, February. By the way, for that point, I just been making it off of investments, and YouTube money started coming in, and YouTube money just kind of it's a few extra bucks. You know what I mean? It's not a
Yeah.
whole lot. And then people started approaching me to do promo videos
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then before I know it, promo video just kind of exploded during that period of time. And I was doing what in my brain was ridiculous, and like people are overpaying for this stuff. Was my feeling, and
Yeah.
I was happy for it. But it then started to trickle down after that period of time. I came in at the end of the frenzy on YouTube, and I think I'm doing great. And then I reach out to Zach Humphreys and Austin Hilton and guys who were prominent during that period of time
Yeah.
that were covering Shib or that were covering Saitama, stuff like that. And I'm finding out they make like $500,000 a month.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no concept of that. And I
From
mean, I made,
YouTube, from the YouTube fees, or from people
yeah,
paying
yeah.
them?
Well,
Oh,
from YouTube, well, YouTube is really not that much. I mean, it's okay. But the way you make it is somebody approaches you and they want you to do a promotional video for them,
yeah.
an advertisement.
Yeah.
So you're making ads for cryptos,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they were now. So their game was a little different than mine. My game, and not to say that these guys are dishonest in any way, but the way they were getting paid was not what I wanted to do, because you had people back then like Dell Crypto, and you had all these other names, and they would just like, what they would do is they would get a supply on a launch, what they do with
Yeah.
KOLs right now.
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
get a supply on the launch, the price would pump up, they would
Sell it.
sell,
Yeah.
they would make a ton of money, and then they would dump. Well, I didn't like that.
Right.
So I did, this is how much I charge for a video. I don't want your tokens. I only want USDC, USDT.
Right.
You can send me ETH, but that's it. And that's the way I started. And then the next thing I know, I create a price sheet, a price chart, stuff like that. Then I meet Jake, Gagan, Rodney, and My Crypto Journey,
Yep.
and a bunch of other guys. And they started talking about, what are you doing? And I told them what I was doing, and then they were like, "Well, how much are you getting paid for doing these?" And I told them, and pretty soon everybody had my price sheet, and everybody was making their own price sheets, and then what I mean. Then it
Yeah.
just became we just decided there was a different way to do this. I'm going to promote a project for you. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm paid to endorse this project. So I'm the actor who's telling you that it's a great project. I don't know if it's a great project or not. I'm giving you an ad.
Yeah.
You have to go in there and you have to decide for yourself whether or not this is the investment vehicle for you.
Right.
And that's what I did. And that's what they did. And pretty soon, we'd all kind of teamed up at that point, came
Yeah.
up with this way of doing business, and that lasted us through this period of time.
Yeah. And you're all still I guess almost all of you are still around doing the same thing. And of course, your channels are much bigger now than they were in 2021, obviously.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much all
Well,
of you.
they make way more than me.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is exciting. So I remember seeing you talking about Volt Inu.
Yep.
That was something I remember seeing on you. And I remember you were talking about Luna Classic. That's the
Yeah.
two that I remember seeing on your channel. Is that still something you're promoting, or you've got, is it just something that you had invested in that you were talking about?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
First of all, I knew Voltoshi, the person that built Volt,
Okay.
and I knew Pablo. So this was just kind of I got in early on Volt. It ran up pretty good. I took my money out of Volt. It dipped back down. I put it back in. It then pumped up again. And when it pumped up the second time, I didn't take the money back out. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let this ride. And the reason for that was because I was partnered with Volt
Hmm.
and I was producing daily content for them, to inform people, to let people know what was going on, et cetera. It's like I was the news guy.
Yeah.
And I was partnered with them for, I want to say, a year and a half. And I'm the vice president of a company, and I'm making more money from Volt and Luna Classic than I'm making as the vice president of a company. You know, so it's a very good deal. And Luna Classic, I wasn't getting like paid, but I was getting 10, 15,000 views on every video.
Yeah.
So it becomes financially like you're having a good run, if you will. So with those kind of things happening, it was that it was pretty good. So at Luna Classic, I have a soft spot, I think, for both them and the community, because I feel like I don't think it's ever going to get to an all-time high again. Like I'm not kidding myself about that. But I do think that it's got 100x sort of potential in it
Hmm.
from where it is right now, especially when you consider meme coins and stuff like that, and the potential narrative of, if that token were to go to 100 billion market cap, that would be like almost a 200x from where it is right now.
Yeah.
But it actually has a functioning blockchain that's been rebuilt. um, Juris protocol is about to come out, which is, if you know anything about the original Terra system, then the way the money was made through Anchor Protocol, which was their lender and staking platform that was allowing you to produce ridiculous yields. It was completely unsustainable, but people were super excited about it. They were putting their money into it. Well, Juris protocol is coming, and it's going to be the same thing. The yields are going to be lower, so the expectation is going to be lower. But this is one of those things where once this is established, and then once they create a burn protocol, if you will, then a significant amount of supply could start to be drained out of that ecosystem, and that's just going to send this price soaring. So
Interesting.
I it's taken longer than I ever thought it would, but I stuck with it because I could see the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
And here it is. I mean, still, it's back on a dip, back down to where I mean, the market is ridiculous,
Yeah.
and it's doing ridiculous market stuff now. It was trading at three zeros, I want to say 25, three zeros 25, not that long ago, and now it's four zeros 65 right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it absolutely capitulated in this last sell off in the market. But I mean, if you look at a chart and you know anything about charts, then it's going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like it's the last top on it was three zeros 25. It's down 78, 80% from that high. That wasn't even the all-time high. That just created a trend line. So this
Yeah.
next trend line pump is going to be somewhere near three zeros 2, and that gives it an opportunity to break out. And if it breaks out, then it'll be big. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of stuck with that one. Volt, I kind of moved on from just because we're no longer partnered every month, and it was promotional content for them.
Hmm.
And I'm not, I never promote anything for free, if you will.
Yeah. Understood. So, one of the things I noticed about your program, I think probably far more so than like the other guys that you've named that I see, is your sense of humor. I think you're just hilariously funny. And is that something, was that like Was that something you strategically decided that you were going to be funnier than the rest and have people like laugh and kind of see it as they're laughing as well as hearing about crypto?
It is my opinion that laughter is the best medicine
Yeah.
in a space that is rife with "you're a scammer, I hate
Scammers.
you. If I ever see you in real life, I'll kill you."
If I find out
You
where
know,
you live. Yeah.
right. You know,
Yeah.
in a space populated by some real assholes, um, I thought, let's have a little bit of fun instead of, a lot of being an asshole, if you will. So that's why I decided on it. And when I was, uh, spoiler alert, when I was 13, 14 years old, we had to come up with, what do you want to do with your life? And at that point, I couldn't turn around and look at my teacher and go, I want to rock. And Twisted Sister would start in the background to let you know how old I am. But um, what I said was, I had no idea. Like, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know. Uh, make people laugh, I guess. So I said comedian.
Yeah.
And then in my yearbooks, everybody started writing about, you're going to make a great comedian, stuff like that. I didn't give a I didn't care about being a comedian. I had no idea about becoming a comedian.
Yeah.
My uncle was a professional wrestler. Um, I was into the fitness even at a younger age. So really, what I thought was probably be a professional wrestler. And then very quickly you find out you are not cut out. Most people are not cut out. I was not cut out for being thrown around and hurting constantly, because that's there's a lot of pain that goes in it. So, but that the whole point was the comedian thing always stuck with me, and
Yeah.
every once in a while I'd be reminded of it. So, and I love jokes. I think everything's I find humor in the most horrible stuff, or the most lame and mundane stuff. And I think humor is great. So I always try to inject a little bit into it as I go along to make people laugh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely, I mean, your sense of humor matches my sense of humor. So I laugh at most of your jokes, just so you know. At least you got, yeah, as you're doing your videos, just know there's one guy out there laughing for sure. So 2024, it is currently August 7th, right? So we're sort of early in this bull run cycle. What are your plans for this bull run? I mean, hopefully we all have a great bull run and make way more money than we did in 2021. But what's in your mind for what your plans are?
Content creation. What I would like to see is, here's the thing. In this space, I feel like I'm, and it's not, hubris or anything like that. I feel like I'm the honest person in this space, that, I will tell you exactly what I think, no matter what, even if it hurts your feelings.
Yeah,
Um, so I feel like there'll be some opportunities for me in content creation of some sort. What I'd like to see, and what has been kind of on the menu, if you will, for a long period of time, has been the potential or the possibility of a news channel. And several times I've engaged with people regarding creating a news channel for cryptocurrency. A real news channel, not the. I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of these places like Cointelegraph, CoinDesk. They're owned by Barry Silbert, and he's the worst of the worst people in this business. So, I want to see. I don't have $2 million to make it all happen. So I can't do it myself. So I'm just kind of waiting for opportunities to arise in
interesting.
which, maybe I can find a hosting platform or a hub or something like that, in which I can start to, just be news oriented and have a little fun with it, get a producer, get a better studio. Um, and, in all honesty, John Stewart, John Oliver, have some fun with crypto would be the optimal thing for me.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I agree with you. I was pretty active with a token about 2 years ago during the bear market, and I was going on YouTube, going on Twitter, and say, there was nobody posting about it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that were investors, and that was actually when I wasn't originally doxxed. I mean, I like nobody knew who I was, and I just started doing videos about one token, and it was simply because I had so much invested in it. I wanted, people to know about it. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
got to get something out. And so I see the need. I mean, there's plenty of projects where there's nobody talking about them. Everyone's anonymous, you've got no face, sometimes no voice, and just, they're posting on Telegram. And it's like, I see the need for people like doing what you do, actually just showing your face and talking about this subject because it is such a weird thing. I mean, it's how many other subjects is it that 95, 97% of everybody is completely anonymous.
Yeah.
They have all got pseudonyms and they've got, you can't even see their face. And so obviously they're not making videos talking about it, and it's
Yeah.
just one of these subjects that I think it's a hunger for people to actually, hear a human being talking about it and trying to see what makes sense because of the nature of the subject.
What was the project, if I can ask?
So I was a pretty big investor in Saitama. I
Yeah.
invested back in 2020, in June of 2021, and did very well. And then I switched a lot of my remaining tokens to Saita Realty. And then I started going online and like, who's talking? I mean, there were still people talking about Saitama V1 and V2, which was mostly bad at that time. It was mostly FUD. And I had switched over my remaining tokens to Saita Realty, and I saw no support from the dev. Well, the support that they had was just some pretty weird stuff. They were going to do this metaverse. It just got more and more convoluted. There was going to be a metaverse, and some of your real estate was going to be virtual real estate, and some of it was going to be real world real estate. And then we're going to buy a property in Dubai, and then we're going to sell it, and the profit's going to be distributed, and then we're going to sell NFTs. And the whole thing just got so complicated that I was trying to explain it in videos and I didn't understand it. And I'm literally the only one making videos about it. So at some point I gave up, and then shortly after that, the developers literally just canceled the project.
I was I remember those days fondly, actually, because I was one of the only people still out here while Rodney was out dumping on Saitama, and or as he calls it, dunking on them daily. I was the one that was out here still saying, look, guys, there's upside here. You just have to see it. And part of the reason for that was I'm not an insider. Like, I'm an outsider who's looking to put a positive spin on it. That's part of the advertising portion of it. And what I saw, even though people probably hate this, but what I saw was Russ, Russell Armand, the original guy who was kind of in charge of everything. This guy was out here taking bullets for people, every single day. Like, he was putting himself on the firing line with everything that was going on. And they had a guy who was programming, I think was it called Cytomask originally?
Mhm. Yep.
Or
Yep.
they
Cytomask.
were programming Cytomask, and this guy can't program for shit. Max, I think his name was.
Yep.
And this guy was obviously not equipped for the job that he was hired for.
Yep.
And he kept screwing it up, and it got worse and worse and worse. And it is also very possible, because I do see how the rumors manifest and permeate, that it could be possible that there were just they weren't going to do that anyway. They had no intention, you know what I mean, that this was just, they experienced the ultimate grift, and they got so many people in on it because they were the one in the frenzy in the final blow off top.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter what happened after that. But they had gotten a really committed and dedicated group of people to fall for their bullshit, and that ended up giving them a long period of time to start trying to fix the problem. But again, during that period of time, Russ was out here, I mean, taking bullets for people,
Yeah.
saying, this is what's going on, this is the stuff. So I had a lot of admiration that maybe this is going to be one that's going to be wrong, you know what I mean. And when I turned on them, I never turned on Saitama, to be clear, ever. But I turned on Russ, and I said, now things are getting weird,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there was a lot of weird stuff that was going on. and like I just can't, I don't. There was too much. It was just too much. So I was kind of moving on, going my own separate way at that point, and I'd already made money off of it, so I was good. But I liked the community. The community seemed to like me. I just, I was out here starting to talk bad about it, and then and let me tell you how far back I go. And I don't know if you ever remember this, because I was talking bad about what was going on, and my guy Faltron, Fallon was he was out of his mind, supporting them. And there was another girl, her name was Kelbell. She was major. I mean, like, and these guys, one night they were here talking about how, and everybody's fudding the project at this point, and they were talking about how Russ killed the dinosaurs, and they thought it was hilarious to pretend that there was this fake outrage on a product that's just going to be fine if you give it a little time. Like, Russ has got this. You got to trust in Russ is
Yeah, in
basically
Russ we
their thing.
trust. Yeah, yeah.
In Russ we trust. And they continued and continued and continued and continued. And then eventually, whatever happened, they kind of woke up from, whatever the Kool-Aid was, they kind of woke up from it and
Hmm.
realized, oh wow, this really is that bad. And then all of a sudden, um, I don't know what the order was, but I remember Faltron finally was like, I had enough. Kel finally had enough. Jonathan Torres finally had enough. I think Shaka ended up staying there way too long and sticking around for far too long. One of the things is, a lot of these people made a lot of money off of it and cashed out at the top, or they had a big bag after they'd already, they made money. So um, then the narrative sort of changed. Then people saw Russ for what he really was. And by the way, I don't want to say anything disrespectful about Russ, because again, he took a lot of bullets for these people, on the team. But you know, um, he was obviously not equipped to be the leader, number one, and they were clearly not equipped to do anything that they said they were going to do. And
Yep.
as it became obvious, it fell apart. And I think now Manny, the
Yep.
hitman,
Okay.
is
Yep.
in charge of everything.
Yep.
Um, I think it was a necessity, because it is my opinion, and I don't have any facts to back it up. But I think the walls were kind of closing in on their LLC and projects and stuff like that, and it was very evident and obvious how much they had taken out of the project. By the way, they don't owe allegiance to holding to the bottom for anybody. They were not the original creators. They took over. This was a
They were
CTO,
investors. Yeah,
so
just investors,
they're
really.
investors just like everybody else. So they were allowed to cash out and make tons. Now the fact that they controlled the supply is very unsavory, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most of the time they were looking at it as, uh, you know, it, let me not say too many good things about them, but I think they were looking at it as, maybe we can make something happen. Because remember, even way back when they were full of shit and we knew it, they were still looking at Cited Chain. They were still looking at the I don't remember what it's called, but it was the Wolf Pack game, whatever the
Yep.
Wolf Pack game
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Wolfcaster
Wolfcast. There was two Wolfcaster games. There was the
in the works. Yep.
1990s looking game, and then there was going to be a 3D full on. You know what I mean? There
Yep.
was a
And
lot of hype and stuff
Gabe
like
was
that.
working with that. They were working with the metaverse. And I mean, if you when you look back at what they promised, even back in the very first white paper, it encompassed like other projects said, hey, we're going to do a launch pad. And someone said, we're going to do a blockchain. And someone's like, we're going to do an exchange. And someone says, we're going to do an app. They said, we're going to do all of it. They literally had
Yeah.
everything in their roadmap. And then you look like, how can, five people spearhead all of this? And it was obvious, in hindsight that it was just, they were promising the world, which obviously was impossible in short term. And again, my feeling about it is that even now with an app and a blockchain for the STC, my feeling about it is that that's great. However, things like that, an app and a blockchain, are only valuable if you have pretty large adoption, if not mass adoption.
Yeah.
So if you look around and there's like, well, there's 60 different blockchains and more coming, and you have billion-dollar companies behind some of them, and then you've got how many apps and how many wallets. The challenge is it doesn't matter if it was like, hey guys, you held true to this promise from the white paper from V1. That's wonderful. But if it doesn't get mass adoption, MK is going to run out of money. And it's just not going to, it's going to be a sad, slow death for the blockchain if it doesn't get mass adoption to be profitable. So, as sad as that is, it's like I'm trying to be realistic. Like I don't know if it's not the one that everybody uses, what good is it?
Well, so I think I'm not defending them, or I'm not defending their project in any way because I'm not associated with it. Um, I even reached out to them the other day and said, "Hey, I have these partners who I do like daily updates on price action and all this kind of stuff on my live stream. If you guys want to do something with me, then we can do something like that." They haven't responded, but I did this the other day because I actually do think that no matter what, here's what's important in my mind. A lot of the sentiment that we have right now about this market is based on where we are. And where we are is we haven't had an altcoin season, a real altcoin season in what, 4 years now? I mean, almost 4 years. What we've seen is we've seen some pumps, and you might be able to look at Ethereum and say, well, Ethereum's at, I mean, it's at 2,300 or 2,400 today, but it was over 4,000 not that long ago. Solana was at over 200 the other, but they're not all-time highs. They're not doing like, there's only, I think it was 8 cryptos that have actually, who've been around since that last run, who've actually done the same kind of top or job that Bitcoin has.
Yeah.
The rest of them, and if you go down the list, when I say the rest of them, I mean every one of them. Aave, not even close to where it was before. Crow, not even in the realm. Band Protocol, not even anywhere close. Atom, not even anywhere close. You keep going down the list everywhere. All of these things have basically fallen apart. I mean, crypto.com was trading at almost, I want to say, $1
Yeah.
at one point, and it's struggling to stay above 8 cents at this point. This is also the fourth largest crypto exchange in the United States. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so what that leads, there's two things that you can make out of that. Number one, it's dead, or number two, retail and all the cascade of money that hasn't happened yet.
No.
Those are the two things. So if you say that the first one, that, first of all, probably never going to go back to an all-time high. 90% of cryptos that pumped in a bull market don't pump to an all-time high again, right? But something like crypto.com, it probably will. However, it would be an indication that we are not there yet when you see something that really is a valuable IP like crypto.com. A valuable IP like that is not performing or is underperforming. That is a testament to this. I thought, and I was wrong about it, by the way, and if you post that part, I'm going to tell everybody you're lying, because I'm always right. But
Right.
I said that it is my opinion that Bitcoin did not have to hit an all-time high to kick off an altcoin season. Well, Bitcoin did start to pump, and it did start to get into that range, and we got a mini altcoin season back in March, if you remember.
Yep. Yep.
But it was not what I was expecting. I mean, like, I was expecting a full-on bum rush of more, right? Well, we didn't get that.
Yeah.
However, we're at the spot right now where that's going to come up again, because what I thought when we got to, I think 55, I think was my number, 57, that we would get a tiny altcoin season. It ended up being 73. So I wasn't wrong. I just had the wrong amount. And then the tiny altcoin season was not as big as what I thought it was going to be. So again, we're not there yet, but if you just consider, when you hit 80 or 90,000 on Bitcoin, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than people think. We hit
Yeah.
80 or 90,000 on Bitcoin, then some of those Bitcoin investors, not all of them, but some of them are also DeFi people. They're going to make a bunch of money. And then what are they going to do? They're going to follow the trend. And what's the trend? Number one, Bitcoin runs. Number two, Ethereum runs. about 3 weeks or so after Bitcoin hits that big top, that's when Ethereum starts to have that come up. And now we start to talk about the flippening or the halvening or whatever, or the flippening, I think is what it's called, where Ethereum was supposed to flip Bitcoin. You see that run, but what happens is Ethereum has to hit their all-time high. When Ethereum hits that all-time high, up here from where it is now, then all of those people, those are DeFi. That money will then cascade down into everything else. And I think the old rising tide raises all
Yeah.
boats.
Yeah.
That's what Ethereum will do. And then from that spot, we'll get a mini dump as Ethereum starts to dump and people like getting nervous. But that dump is going to lead to a lot of buying into other projects. And that's when we get altcoin season. And that's when everything starts to run up. And we just haven't had that yet
Yeah.
because we haven't reached the top of Ethereum and we haven't really reached the top of where Bitcoin can go. So that's what I think is happening right now.
So do you think that the bull run's going to be all like through 2025, like through next year, or do you
Oh
think it'll
no. I
shorter?
think that I think our top is most likely. So here's the thing. When you look at what are good months, and you can always go look at like CoinGlass or something like that, and you can find out like, historically, what are the best performing months in crypto? And it's usually February, March, and then October, November.
Yeah.
So those are the keys. February, March, we're probably going to get a pump. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have like that April blow off that we had in 2021. And then, September starts to ramp. October becomes a good one. November comes, and then we get Christmas time. And then the other good month, by the way, I guess I should say, is January, because January is where you have your big sell off in December, pay your taxes, stuff like that, and then interest starts to explode.
Hmm.
Well, we're
Hmm.
in the, what's going to happen, in my opinion, here is the same thing we saw in 2021. We're at the 4-year cycle. It's 2025. It's the beginning of the year. Stimmy, we had the stimmy money the last time, but it's going to be tax revenue. People getting their taxes back. They're going to be investing in a bull market. They're going to find the meme coin. They're going to find whatever it is they're looking for. They're going to find it at the beginning of 2025, and it's going to explode. And
Yeah.
that's when we're going to see Bitcoin hit that all-time high, double top, probably a double top again. We'll see that all-time high run up for February, March, maybe again even into April. Then we'll see a collapse, not as bad, just like we saw last time.
Hmm.
This thing
Hmm.
is cyclical.
Yeah.
So we're going to see about the same thing that we saw before. And even if we don't see it the exact same way, where that secondary pump was higher in November, we're going to see another big run up around October or November. And then it's just on you to make sure that you cash out at that point. Use your RSI, use your fear and greed index, and make
Yeah.
sure that you know exactly where shit's going, and cash out when it's time.
Yeah. 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 I think one difference this cycle is that at the moment with inflation and cost of living is that I don't think the retail consumer has as much discretionary money as they did in 2021. So there may be less cash for people to throw in, to the gambling mode for the retail consumer.
So let me contest that. You're right about it right now, but we're not in the bull run. We're in the
Right.
accumulation phase. Bitcoin has been an outlier for the rest of the market. And because of the ETFs, excuse me, but because of the ETFs, it's made Bitcoin run a lot hotter. Because
Yeah.
the Ethereum ETFs, it will make Ethereum run a lot hotter, but that's not the market being the market. The
Right.
market being the market will be this. There's already been a lot of conversation with Walmart and Target and all these other places talking about and telling you that prices are coming down. So we're going to get a lot of price dip coming pretty soon. It's tied in, of course, with, I mean, the biggest cost right now is still gasoline.
Yeah.
Diesel is still pretty high. Your gasoline prices are still a little bit high, and they get artificially inflated in a lot of different regions in order to stay high, in order to keep. And by the way, payroll is minor compared to your gas prices for transportation.
Yeah.
So you're seeing gas prices start to come down. Here's what you end up getting. you ended up getting it in this summer. Demand for gas way down, so that means demand for oil is way down, which means that you're going to have lower prices, and those lower prices are going to be passed on to consumers. It'll be sales and it'll be specials and stuff like that. Like if you go to the grocery store today, you probably see it's about $8 or $9 for a 12 pack of Coca-Cola, which is outrageous, but it's on sale right now. You buy three for 10 or something like that, or it's only $3 or $4 if you buy a couple of them at a time or something like that. They're running the specials like that.
Yeah.
And that's the price. The prices are starting to come down because the gas prices are starting to come down. Well, what we're going to see as we get into the winter time, when it's going to get even less demand, we're going to see the same thing happen, and it's going to be even bigger. We're going to see gas prices are going to continue to come down as we get towards the election. Democrats are going to be highly motivated to do something about gas prices.
Hmm.
Democrats are going to be highly motivated to reduce the BPS on the Fed rate. They're going to be highly motivated to do something to try to help fix the economy and make it work for more people.
Hmm.
Well, whether the Democrats are in charge or the Republicans are in charge at the end of this, those prices will be down.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the bull run. We're just seeing a horrible moment right here in time
Yeah.
where, and by the way, here's what I think, even though it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter to me, but it is honest. The rest of the world is experiencing this in a vastly worse way than what the United States is. Like we are doing way better than everybody else in dealing with it. So ultimately, I think the United States is going to we're gonna have a huge run, and it will be because prices are low. And then finally, the last piece of this equation is, and it hasn't happened, but there's been rumors of it. And if there's rumors, there's reality. And the rumor is that China is going to stop the ban on crypto, that they're going to
Ooh.
pivot, and
Oh,
that
that would
they
be
would be
big.
pivoting somewhere in the fourth quarter or late into the third quarter. And here's the thing, we're in the third quarter, running into the fourth quarter pretty soon. So it's easy for people to look at that news and say, well, yeah, of course you're going to say that because that's where we are right now. And that's just like big things coming on a crypto. But the reality is, we've been talking about this since the beginning of the year, that China is preparing for a pivot
Yeah.
into making crypto legal because they've done what they needed to do in their infrastructure. So we're going to get a huge run. And for those of you that think, well, Donald Trump has to be in charge, nope. Nobody, it doesn't matter who the president is when it comes down to this.
Yeah.
Fitty, God love him, he's a buddy of mine. Fitty.eth on Twitter.
Yeah.
We banter back and forth about it, but I showed him a chart the other day. This is Joe Biden up here, and this is Donald Trump down here. You can't make this shit up. It's like, because he said crypto's going to crash if Kamala Harris is in charge. Well, by that logic, it would have crashed when Joe Biden's in charge, but it didn't. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it runs regardless of that. It's how far up it might go or something like that that's predicated by market conditions, but it's going to run no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to interview with me.
Yeah.
I do enjoy seeing you when you do pop in on our chats for the Saitama on Solana blockchain. That's awesome, and hoping that does some serious action in the next couple of months. I'm hoping that. I'm looking forward to that, and appreciate your chiming in on those groups. Anything else you want to say to wrap up our interview?
Two things. First of all, as far as Saitama on Solgo, this, I mean, there was a big dump this morning,
Yeah.
but there was also a pretty robust pump over the last little while. And to me, it felt like, I think the dump that we saw this morning is radium. I don't think that that's actual investors. So I think that this was just kind of radium flushing out liquidity, and that their buy machines are going to start buying again pretty soon. That's the way it looks like to me,
Hmm.
because it was the same wallets selling out all kind of at once, and that's usually a sign that that the radium market maker is flushing out. So I think that we're probably going to end up seeing a nice little pump coming off of it, because I think that you'll see I think you'll see the market maker start to kind of churn a little bit more. And then so I think we're going to see probably a pump up to a range of, there's going to be an estimate or a guess from me, but about 3 cents. Not going to be
Yeah.
huge, but it'll be, a nice little reversal on Saitama on Soul. I think that Friday, I think Earlswood and the guys are going to make an announcement of some sort
Yep.
that, could be the start of some positive price action for Saitama. I think that there's gonna be some other things that are happening in the next again next 24 48 hours that I think is going to kind of move that price. So if you're Saitama on sold, this is probably going to be a good opportunity for you, a good entry point where it is
Yeah.
right now for a good pump. And as far as the rest of it, I am bullish on a couple different projects. API 3, which
Hmm.
is an RWA, and I think everybody should have that right now because I think it's going to do 100 to 300x in the next bull run. Minimum, by the way,
Okay.
because I'm not looking at, and by the way, I should say to people, I'm not looking at stuff like Ondo. I'm not looking at, I am an Ondo holder, but I'm not looking at stuff like Ondo and stuff with already a billion market cap. Those
Right.
things are going to run and they're going to have good runs, but you have to find something like an Ondo that's in the low yield market cap region.
Right.
So for me, that's API 3, which is you can already use that to buy Apple stocks with crypto and stuff like that, which is foundational because currently you have if I want to do an RWA, then I need BlackRock over here, then I need Chainlink here, and then I need the user here. Well, API 3 removes the need for Chainlink and just turns this into one seamless transaction. So I
Hmm.
think API has more upside long term than Chainlink has. Chainlink is old technology to begin with. So
Interesting.
I'm big on
Okay.
that one. 5IRE, which is a new super quick blockchain, fifth generation blockchain, and then DevE, which is another fifth generation blockchain. DevE, 8 million transactions per second.
Wow.
Um, and it settles in under 1 second, uses proof of validation. Also, the reason that I'm so bullish on DevE is because DevE is something that all these other ones are not. It's a permissioned blockchain. I'm not going to trade on it. You're not going to trade on it. Businesses are going to trade on it. That's where money is going to get made, is on something like that. So it would
Interesting.
be my impression that those are going to be just absolute bangers going into it. API 3, 5IRE, and DevE, those are going to be my, just hodl and
Hmm.
hold those for dear life because something massive is going to happen. Those are the three that I'm going to pick for those.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that input, and I'm sure the whoever sees this video does as well. And thank you so much for taking the
Hey, man.
time to do this interview. I'll see you in the next time I see you. And anybody, what's the name of your channel on YouTube, or what's the best way to watch your content?
Bleeves Crypto, Bleeves Crypto. You can find me on X. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me playing around on Instagram every once in a while and TikTok every once in a while, but I'm not really consistent over there. I don't use it for the same purpose. TikTok does not like crypto. Um, Instagram's not real big fan of crypto, or maybe it's just
Yeah,
the users are not a
yeah,
fan.
yeah.
You know.
Bleeves Crypto. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Bleeves. Thanks for the
You
interview.
got it, Tom.
Talk
Thanks
to you
for having
later.
me.
Thanks.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.